Internet, and welcome to Buddy Reads. Wait, I hear you screaming. This is different. This is new. What happened to Purple Hair Doofus? Why is he not standing in front of a green screen? Where's all the fancy backgrounds? Just calm down and let me explain. I'm changing things up a bit. I've changed my name, on YouTube at least, to Buddy Reads, because I think that it encapsulates more of what I want this channel to be. Us buddy reading a book. Me reading a section, you reading a section, us commenting on that section down in the comments below. That has always been my intention of this channel the entire time. And don't worry, I'm going to do some very fun things with the general spoiler-free reviews of these books. But for now, I figured I would take it easy with the everyday videos, take a seat and talk to you. And today, we're starting The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime by Mark Haddon. Today I'm going to cover up to chapter 97. Don't worry though, that is not actually 97 different chapters. I will explain. So far, this book is about Chris. And I'm not quite sure exactly what Chris is classified with right now, but I believe he is somewhere along the autism spectrum, because he has a lot of different social problems. But I'm getting ahead of myself, because the very first chapter is about him finding a dead dog in a backyard. And the backyard isn't his, it belongs to a woman named Miss Shears. And the dog isn't his, the dog belongs to a woman named Mrs. Shears. Then it goes into a little bit about how he experiences human expressions, and how he doesn't experience them the same way that most people do. It talks about him being in a special school for people like him, and having someone who is helping him named Shaban. Hope I got that name right. And it kind of bounces back and forth between introducing this character Chris and talking about when he saw the dog in the backyard. And while he's in the backyard, Mrs. Shears thinks he was the one that killed the dog. He's trying to explain that that didn't happen. She's trying to explain that she's calling the cops. The cops arrive and try and remove Chris from the backyard. Chris doesn't like that. Chris ends up punching a policeman when he tries to grab him, and so he is arrested for assaulting a police officer. It's explained that this book is not a funny book, which is sad to me because I love funny books. But I'm kind of loving this book so far. Chris gets taken to the station, and while they're doing all of the here's everything that I had in my pockets, it was basically like loose change and a puzzle piece and a twisty tie or something. After it does all the processing stuff, it explains that Chris is writing this book, so he numbered the chapters how he wanted to number them, and he numbered them in prime numbers. So that's why there aren't 97 different chapters, even though we are covering through chapter 97. Chris's dad picks him up from prison. Chris explains that he doesn't tell lies, he doesn't like lies, he doesn't like mistruths. They get home, and it's a very cold situation when his dad brings him home. His dad doesn't really punish him, but he doesn't really console him either. His dad pretty much says, go to your room, and he sits down in front of the TV. Then it gets into how he lost his mother and how his father sent her to the hospital, and she died in the hospital, so Chris doesn't like hospitals. He also explains that when he goes to school, he has a ritual on whether or not today will be a good day or a bad day, and it's basically the color of the cars that he passes, and whether or not he passes 3 yellow cars in a row or 3 red cars in a row. And he likes red, so when he passes 3 red cars, it's a good day. And he explains that people usually describe whether or not they're having a good day on whether or not it's raining or sun shining out, and how ridiculous that situation is, so his situation isn't that ridiculous either. Chris decides that he is going to investigate who killed Mrs. Shears' dog, because he really liked that dog. He goes to Mrs. Shears' yard and starts inspecting the area that the dog was found. Mrs. Shears catches him, and she's like, "You get out of here." I would say, I'm sorry, I won't do it anymore, but he was like, okay. He discusses how he doesn't understand the concept of heaven or an afterlife. He thinks it's more like you're in the ground and there's nothing more. There's no ghosts, there's no mythological way of living. After he is kicked out of Mrs. Shears' backyard, he goes around town and starts asking the townspeople about the dog. And he meets up with a woman named Mrs. Alexander. Mrs. Alexander is a very nice one. She wants to feed him cake and tea And he doesn't pick up on that social cue. He just kind of says, thank you for your time, and goes off while she's like going through her house looking for tea and cake. We get sent to a memory that he had at school where they are discussing whether or not he should be taking a higher math class. And his dad really believes that he should be. He should be in like a college level class. And then it discusses some of his social problems. This is where I believe that it is explained that he is somewhere on the autism spectrum. But it's also kind of funny because I was reading through those things and I was like, I'm kind of that way. But I don't think of myself as on that spectrum. He sits down with his dad and tells him what he's been doing. Looking for the person that killed Mrs. Shear's dog. His dad says, don't do that anymore. Mrs. Shears is not a friend of ours. You have to stop. You have to promise that you won't investigate this anymore. And he does make that promise. And then he discusses his dreams of becoming an astronaut. Because he doesn't want to be an investigator. He doesn't want to be a mathematician. He wants to go out into space because he thinks it would be cool. And awesome. And it would be. He continues to investigate the death of the dog, and he describes it in such a way that, he's not really disobeying his father. He's just doing what he wants because he didn't understand the rule. And one of the ways that he describes how it's okay that he does this, and he's not lying, is because when he walks through a park and he sees a sign that says, keep off the grass, it doesn't say keep off all the grass. It doesn't say just keep off this one blade of grass. It just says keep off the grass. So how in the world are you supposed to know how much of the grass to stay off of? He's talking with the woman that is helping him at school about his dad and Mrs. Shears. And, the woman's like, I can't really help you with that. I don't really want to get involved with that. And so he dismisses the idea of discussing the link between the two with her. And he continues to investigate the dog, and he comes across Mrs. Alexander again. And Mrs. Alexander is like, where did you run off to? I just got the cake and tea. When I came out, you were gone. And he's like, we were done talking. I didn't know that we needed to stick around. And he asks about why his father and Mrs. Shears wouldn't be friends anymore. And Mrs. Shears was like, well, don't you? And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And Mrs. Shears takes him for a walk through the park where she sits him down and she says, I really shouldn't have told you anything. You have to promise that what I'm going to tell you right now, you will never repeat with anyone. And I really shouldn't be telling you this either, but I've already kind of opened up the can of worms. So here we go. It's kind of a known gossip, I guess, that your mother was having an affair with Mr. Shears. And that's why Mr. Shears left after your mother died. And why Mrs. Shears is all alone and your father doesn't want to be friends with Mrs. Shears anymore. And that's pretty much where I'm going to end this section. Lots to think about, lots to comment about, lots to talk about. I probably missed a whole bunch too, so if I missed a lot, you just tell me in the comments. I have a very special way that I'm going to introduce the next book that I'm reading, and I won't do it until Friday. So look out for that. I've been Elliot the Purple Hair Doofus. This has been Buddy Reads, reminding you to watch your pajama radius. And I will see you all in the next section of The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime by Mark Haddon. Toodles!